Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you joining us on our first Cali training webinar of 3. This is our pre-arrival webinar, and we'll be providing you with information that you will be needing before you depart your home countries, before getting to the United States and arriving at UCSB. This Cali training webinar, Cali is both short for California, but it also stands for Cultural Awareness, Laws, and Immigration. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, we will be touching base on all of those things: cultural awareness, laws, and immigration-related laws. So we hope that you will be able to join us for each of the 3 webinars. We are offering them twice a day for the next 3 Wednesdays. Each week is a different theme, and today's theme is pre-arrival information. I'd like to introduce myself and my coworker. My name is Ashley Rifkin. I'm the International Programs Coordinator for the Office of International Students and Scholars. I do programming for our office on behalf of the international population on campus. I also do advocacy and outreach to other campus entities on around campus, and I also do immigration advising. And I'd like to let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Christina Carney, otherwise known as CC in the office. I'm the lead international student advisor, and I'm also an alum at UCSB.
Thanks. Okay, so as we're getting started, I just wanted to let everyone know that this webinar is going to be recorded and will be presented and available on our Cali training website by the probably end of the week, first of next week, as will be our other webinars as we wrap up Cali training in the weeks to come. But if you ever have any questions or want to review any of the information that we have covered, you're always welcome to check that out on our website. If you have questions, we do ask that you submit those using the Q&A function. OISS will answer those questions either live or, we will answer those live either verbally or in typed format at the end of the presentation. So for our agenda today, our presentation will be about 30 to 40 minutes and then followed by a Q&A, question and answer session at the end, which will allow you all to ask us questions and hopefully we can answer them. And if we can't, we'll point you in the right direction for the appropriate resource on campus. We will be going over UC Santa Barbara, kind of an organizational overview and how we fit into the greater UC system. You'll get an overview of our office and the resources and specialties that we can help assist you with. We're preparing for departure, so things that you will need to do as you're getting ready to leave and come to the US. We'll provide information on arriving in the US and what to expect as you're coming into the border, as well as employment information once you are here based on your visa type. And then we'll also go over what you have to look forward to in the weeks to come in terms of pre-arrival information for Cali training. And then we'll wrap up with a question and answer session. But first, before we go any further, we'd like to get to know a little bit about who you all are in our virtual audience here. So using the chat function for this particular activity, we'd like for you to add put up in the chat what your major is going to be on campus and which region of the world that you're joining us from. Brazil, nice. China, Chile, China. Excellent, Japan. Lots of Chinas based on this time zone. We were kind of thinking that might be the case. Awesome. India, nice. Economics Canada. Wonderful. Great. Korea, Thailand. Very good. All righty. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in there. It's really nice to know who we're speaking with. This morning, we ran a webinar in the morning for our students who are in different time zones. We had a lot more of our European students in the morning's session. Oh, Singapore, excellent. So we're just really happy to have such a great, diverse group of students coming to study with us this coming year, and hopefully in the next 4 to 7 years, based on which degree you're seeking. Thank you for that. Right. So a little bit about our campus. University of Santa Barbara is part of the greater University of California system. There are 10 campuses throughout the state of California, and we fall kind of right smack in the middle, both in terms of geography in Central California. We're more coastal though. And then also in terms of size of our population. We have just over 26,000 students here on our campus. The majority of which are undergraduate students, being just over 23,000. And about 3,000 are graduate students, half of which are international graduate students, which we're really proud of. For our undergraduate population, as you can see, there's about 50, little over 5,000 international undergraduate students with us. That represents between 90 to 100 different countries around the world, and consists of about 23% of our total campus population. So we're really excited to have you join this dynamic campus with a wide variety of students from all over the world. And we look forward to your contributions, both academically and culturally, on our campus. There are 5 colleges and schools on the campus of UC Santa Barbara. And this is where you're going to find all of your academic advising and resources based on your degree. So the 3 main colleges are Letters and Sciences, Creative Studies and Engineering. Then there's the Bren School for Environmental Studies and the Gravetz Graduate School of Education. Again, these are where you're going to be seeking information and building relationships, more academic in nature. And we often refer students to their colleges or their schools when academic questions come up. The university also has many specialized departments and campus resources. BARC, I should say, these are the ones that we've listed here are the ones that we get the most questions about from our international population. So we wanted to introduce you to these before you arrive. The BARC office is the Billings and Accounts Receivable Collections Unit. This is where all of your financial matters will take place. They oversee all of your financial matters on campus. So if you have questions about fees or when you're going to make payments, this is the office to contact. There's also the Office of the Registrar, and they will help you with your classes if you're not able to do so with your departments. Then student health is a big office on campus, and this is almost like a little mini medical center. They provide resources and support for everything from dental services to vision, general health and well-being. There's a pharmacy there. They even provide information about health insurance and vaccine information. So if you have any questions, which many students did in our morning session regarding vaccines or insurance, we're going to go ahead and say this is where you're going to have to go after the webinar and reach out to them with your questions that you may have. We also have a really wonderful housing department here. They work both with on-campus housing for undergrads and grads, but then they also have great relationships with community housing providers. So like rental companies that have houses or apartments that are renting out to primarily UCSB students. And so if you're still have questions about housing or anything related to like your move-in date, or if you're going to be late for move-in, we do recommend that you reach out to them directly. They do have their own website and are a great group of staff that are very timely in getting back to you. But please keep in mind that they're going to be having a lot of questions and emails, correspondences this time of year. So please extend some patience to them as they get back to you. Then again, many of the questions we get in terms of academic advising, we do not advise on any academic matters. So we will refer you to your college advisor within your department or with counseling services. So you were going to have to point you in that direction as much as we'd like to support you as best we can. That's just one of those areas that we do not support is academic advising. We are primarily immigration and cultural advising. And then one of the large entities on campus of which we fall under, the Office of International Students and Scholars, is called Student Affairs. This is a larger umbrella department that provides a variety of support services to all students on campus. And we want to put you in touch with them because I do believe that this is a uniquely kind of American concept in terms of student services. They provide everything from leadership opportunities to career service workshops and campus learning and assisted services. So for tutoring services that you might have questions about with your writing, with anything from physics, mathematics, they are a great resource there for the class campus learning and assistant services. They also have a point person that works specifically with international students in the writing center. So if when you get here, if you're kind of getting up to speed with academic writing skills, I recommend that you reach out to the class writing center because they do provide wonderful services there specifically for international students. Career Services is also an office on within Student Affairs that we work really closely with. They have a point person as well for international students. They will help you with building a resume, also too with interview skills, finding jobs. They hold the platform for all on-campus jobs. So we'll go over that in a couple minutes here. But Career Services is also one of our close partners and international allies on campus. Counseling and psychological services, this is often referred to as CAPS. I think when you get here, you will soon discover that campus likes to talk in acronyms. So we tried to spell those out for you as we're introducing you to some of these resources on campus. CAPS provides counseling and even peer counseling with other students, international students, for times when you're feeling stressed, maybe homesick, and they are able to support you during those times. And I really recommend becoming familiar with them. They also just do kind of stress relief workshops. They do yoga. They work closely with the health and wellness on campus, and they have an international student point person as well. And then last but not least on this list is our Office of International Students and Scholars. And we provide support to both students and scholars and visiting researchers on campus. And we'll go into a little bit more detail in just a moment. Yeah, Cece?
That's me. Okay, so here's an overview of our office. We support students and scholars F and J, as well as staff and faculty for employment-based visas and providing timely immigration advice, news, and updates. We also provide one-on-one advising and recommendations for campus programs and resources. We collaborate with campus departments to provide global perspectives via training, events, and programming. And essentially, we bring the world to UCSB through you, and we're here to serve you and domestic students as well. Next slide. Thanks. So we also provide you with the I-20 and the DS 2019. So for those of you who are on the F visa, we provide the I-20, and for those of you who are on the J visa, we provide the DS 2019. By the way, can I get a show of just a thumbs up if you're here on a J, you're coming on a J, just so I have an idea in the chat. Okay, so most of you are coming here on the F visa. Well, you'll want to go ahead and look at your I-20 or DS 2019 and look at the program end date and make sure that you don't you don't go past that program end date. You will need to extend your document before that happens. we keep both the DS 2019 and the I-20 records in what's called SEVIS, the acronym Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. And so we keep everything from what your major is and to what your address is, both in the US and at home. You also will be provided a visa through your local consular office or embassy, except Canadians. And this is once you do receive your I-20. For most Fs, we have issued the I-20s, and we're still working on some of the DS 2019s right now. We get asked this question a lot. You can let the visa expire once you're in the United States. Once you're in the United States, what keeps you active is your I-20 or DS 2019 in combination with what's called your I-94, which is the electronic document issued by Customs and Border Patrol when you go through the US border. When you come and or you go, your records are tracked there. So for both F and J students, we want to make sure that you're familiar with the I-94, which we can talk about in just a bit in the next slide. Okay, so we'll talk about it in 2 slides. For this current slide, we also wanted to let you know that we provide cultural programming. And so sometimes it's social, cultural, and then other times it may be professional. And what we liken to do is connect international students and scholars with campus resources. And we also like to highlight the value of international academic and cultural exchange here on campus. And some of the ways we do this is through ongoing programs that we host. One is called the English Conversation Programs, and we will be offering this throughout the academic year at different days and times. And then every quarter we have international language exchanges. And so it's a great place to come and exchange different languages that you may be interested in. We also have programs such as career services and immigration and employment workshops. And then in October, we'll have International Education Week celebration. And this is going to be a very fun year because we're going to have a fashion show. So on the next slide, we talk about what to pack. And so this is a plug here for our International Fashion Show. If you all have a traditional dress or shirt or headdress that you would like to bring with you, it would be a great time to go ahead and pack it in your suitcase. We also suggest that you pack clothing that is for relatively temperate temperatures. It doesn't get too cold here, so you don't need to pack a big heavy coat. When you arrive, and pretty much through November, it's going to be warm, so maybe more cotton clothing. And then also pack any medications that you may need, even spices. That you can get these things, of course, through the mail when you need them, but to just have them readily available is a good idea. And then, of course, little mementos, any photos or items that make you think of home, or different things that you like and soothe you. But please know that our bookstore has a lot of inventory, not just books, but paper, pens, pencils, sunblock, room fans, bags, and toiletries. So That's available to you right here on campus. And then of course, nearby we have Target and Costco. Some of you may be familiar with. Then as far as carry-on documentations, here is a list. Some of these I'll explain you don't need to bring out at customs, and then some you do. So first, before you get to the United States, we encourage you very strongly to go ahead and pay your SEVIS I-901 fee before you leave, and then print it and keep it with your carry-on items, but you don't need to show it to the customs officer. What you do need to show to the customs officer are your I-20s and your DS 2019s. So that you would stick in your passport. And if you're coming through Los Angeles International Airport, they can have upwards of 20,000 visitors per day. So they're not going to have time to look at anything else. So again, just stick your I-20 and DS 2019 in your passport. Carry on would be your I-901 receipt, a class schedule perhaps, and then your admissions letter, and that should suffice. Here we have QR codes for the Center for Disease Control, CDC, travel advisories, because we're not able to provide that information through our office, and there you'll find the most up-to-date travel advisories, as well as the student health vaccination requirements. We wouldn't be able to answer these types of questions, so make sure you scan these QR codes. Next slide.
I'm just going to pause for a minute to allow
Sure.
people to open those QR codes up for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so more about coming into the United States and the I-94 and Customs and Border Protection. As mentioned, they have 20,000 visitors at any given day per year in Los Angeles. So you're just going to want your passport and I-20 or DS 2019 out for them. And then as our strong tip here is, once you pass customs, is to pull up your I-94 record right away, because on it, it should indicate whether you're F or J. And you want to also make sure that your name is on there correctly. Sometimes they invert the surname with the first name. Sometimes they just don't spell it correctly. Sometimes if you happen to have a B tourist visa in your passport, they can even mark you as having coming in as a B visitor. And when you study in a school, you can't be on a tourist visa. So you would want to check that right after you pass customs and before you go to the baggage carousel to claim your baggage, because if you see it's listed incorrectly, then you can turn right around and ask one of the customs officers to correct it right on the spot. Otherwise, it's fine if you notice it later when you get to campus, then reach out to us at OISS and we'll help you in getting that corrected. In terms of arriving to campus, we recommend that you either book with Santa Barbara Airbus from Los Angeles International Airport to campus. They drop you right off in the campus center. But we also wanted to let you know that we do have an airport here, and the airport is about 1 kilometer away. So you have those two options, and those would be your best bets. You are required as F and J visa holders to check in with our office, and the way that you would do this is through UC Global. So when you requested the I-20 and DS 2019 in UC Global, you would just go back to that platform, and we have the arrival document check-in. And what you're going to do there is upload a copy of your correct I-94, and then also what your US address is. And by the way, I just would want to say with the US address, that might be something else to keep with your check-in documents. You may be asked, what is your address in the United States? Okay, I think that's it for me.
Cece, can I add one thing to the check-in? This is a virtual process, so it's a self check-in. You don't need to physically come to our office to check in. You're virtually checking in through these 2 document uploads to the UCSB Global website.
Okay, so as far as employment is concerned, both J and F1 visa holders are allowed to work on campus. And so the difference, however, is we do have a few J visa holders with us tonight, is that for J visa holders, you have to report where you're working on campus to OISS through UC Global. So when you log into UC Global, you're going to select the on-campus employment form and go ahead and list what department you're working in. And we report that into the CVIS database. That is a requirement for J visa holders, and your F counterparts do not need to do this. So just make sure of your J that you're aware that you're reporting on campus. For F and J, again, you can work on campus as soon as you would like to and have a job, and you can work 20 hours while school is in session maximum. And then when school is out of session, you can work up to 40 hours. You do not need to get a social security card right away. So for those of you who are going to be the RAs and the TAs, you can report to your department and start working in a few days, and wait about 2 weeks because from when school starts, because we need to register or validate your DS 2019s and I-20s. And until that's done, you won't be in the government database to be able to obtain your social security number. And then you can find jobs if you're an undergraduate or a graduate student and you're looking for jobs on campus. You would do that through the career services platform, which is called Handshake. And again, career services does offer professional development workshops throughout the year. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, Cece.
You're welcome.
So as we start to wrap up here, we just wanted to give you a little preview of what's to come in the weeks ahead, and to remind you all to please do join us each Wednesday for the next 2 weeks. We will be offering 2 more Cali training webinars. Our next one is next Wednesday, July 13th. It's a Meet the Director meeting, of which both students and family members are welcome to log in and join us. We recognize that for our international community, that you don't get the same experience of having your parents bring you to the campus like many of your domestic peers do. And we applaud you being as brave as you are to come this far on your own. But we hope that we can provide some insight to the experience for your family members, and also allow them to ask any questions they may have regarding what to expect in the coming years ahead as you become part of the UCSB community. Then the following week is our student life webinar. That'll be July 20th. And this is an opportunity to meet some current international and domestic students, both graduate and undergraduate students. And they'll share a little bit of their tips and advice for succeeding at UCSB and just being, away from home, and maybe some of the funny insights and memories they had when they first arrived to campus. But it is also an opportunity to ask them questions that you may have specifically related to what it's like to be an international student on campus. So we hope you will join us for both of these. Again, we are offering them twice a day based on the different time zones that we're trying to access for our students. So we hope you'll be able to join us for one of the two of our weekly events. And then, as we stated at the beginning of the webinar, we are going to be recording all of these. So if there's any information that you missed or that you would like to go back and review, you will be able to find that on our Cali training webpage. And there's a QR code that links to that page on our website under campus engagement. We will be posting those within a couple of days of the end of each of our webinars. So that's a good place to check back if there's any information you want to review again. So now is the time for question and answers. We do ask that you use the Q&A function as opposed to the chat. Please use Q&A to post any questions that you would like for us to answer. And we do ask that you refrain from posting any information that is personal in nature. You can contact our our OISS, our main inbox directly, or your specific advisor with any personal questions you may have that are specific to your circumstances. All right, so the doctor told me, okay, this looks like a vaccine question about Tdap. This would be a question specifically for, a question specifically for student health. You would need to go to their website. You can Google search UCSB student health. And then once you're on their page, you can even search for Tdap or vaccine information, and they'll be able to advise you on that. Our office does not have any oversight or information about vaccines on campus. So I do recommend that you go directly to them. Okay, let's see. It looks like we have a question about CPT. I have a full-time, I have been a full-time student in the US for my bachelor's degree previously and got my degree there. I did the transfer SEVIS process previously and got transfer I-20. However, I used OPT opportunity after graduation for my undergraduate school. In that case, could I start working for CPT immediately this fall when the quarter starts, or do I have to study 3 quarters to be eligible for CPT again? Do you want to answer that one, Cece?
Sure. Legally, you're able to start CPT right away if you're a transfer student, because you were already here, and the requirement is that for any new student, you should study 3 quarters before you have an opportunity to do CPT, which is curricular practical training, and it's typically off campus, and it's their internships or industry type of positions. And so I would suggest that you may want to explore this further with your assigned advisor here at OISS. As advisors, we split the work depending on your last name. So if your last name is X, then you're with a certain advisor. And so I would just say, conservatively speaking, if you're coming right off OPT and landing right into CPT, you're on a student visa, so you may want to wait a quarter or 2 to pursue another CPT interest. But if you want to explore it further, then you're welcome to set up an appointment with your assigned advisor, and they can explore it with you further.
Thanks, Cece.
Mhm.
One of the questions here says, how can I find out who my advisor is, or will they reach out to me later? We will not reach out to you individually. We have a population of just over 5,000 students that we work with throughout the year at various stages in their academic career. However, we do have the listing of all of our advisors on our website. And as Cece had just said, we do divide up the students, divide the work amongst our staff, our advising teams, based on the first letter of your last name. So for example, myself, I advise students whose last names start with A, B, and D. So all of those students would be able to book appointments with me and send me emails and ask questions that they may have. If another student who falls outside of that alphabet split contacts me, I would then, and this is the case for all of our advisors, I would then direct you to your appropriate advisor. And that information is all available on our website under the student portion of our website, as well as our contact information. If you go onto our website and you see all of our names and our faces and our email addresses, there's also going to be a link to our email address, and then also a Zoom link for any advising you may need. So I recommend checking that out as well. Okay, it says, stay in the US. Okay, so it's asked, this question is, can we stay in the US any longer than the date
Yeah,
at
spring
the
quarter.
spring quarter?
Mhm. It depends on if you're an exchange student. If you're here on an exchange and your last day is for spring, you have a 30-day grace period. And so you can stay here for 30 days unless you have lined up a work opportunity, and that you would have to do before you graduate, and it's called academic training. So if you're here for 3 quarters, then you're allowed to work for 3 quarters following the spring quarter. But if you're here seeking a degree, whether you're seeking a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, you're free to stay here in the summers and you don't need to leave when the spring quarter ends.
What happens if the embassy in my country gives me an emergency appointment on August 23rd and they have problems on giving me my visa on time, being September 17th? Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah. Typically when you get a visa interview, when you have a visa interview, then it only takes about a week to get the visa foil in your passport. So it's sent back to you. I'll just say conservatively within 2 weeks, but we were in a seminar recently and we're told that those come back to you relatively quickly after you, as long as you have the interview.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Do we have to complete the I-20 transfer before our arrival at UCSB? You should do that as soon, you want to be careful. You want to do that as soon as possible. You have 5 months to transfer to another institution. So I'm assuming that the person who posted this is coming from another institution in the US. You do want to go ahead and transfer that. If you exceed 5 months, you would have to depart the US and enter in on a new initial. Technically, you could probably arrive here without that, but we recommend that you go ahead and put that request in as soon as possible, and that you have that in hand when you're arriving here, just to make sure that everything is ready to go, and that your record doesn't get closed out at your previous institution. Can a bank account be opened without a social security number? Do you do that, Cece?
Sure. So I would recommend that when you're opening a bank account to choose the banks that are in Isla Vista. They're very familiar with international students. If you try to open it outside of the greater campus area, you may be asked for one. So it's better to stick in Isla Vista. In Isla Vista, there's a Wells Fargo and there's a Chase Bank.
Yeah. And just to give a little more context about Isla Vista, Isla Vista is the neighboring community to campus. It's almost feels like an extension of campus. It's primarily all students from UCSB. There's restaurants, there's some shops there, but that is kind of an extension of our campus community, the neighboring, and it literally is directly across the street from my office right here from OISS. And so it's really conveniently located with a lot of amenities for students. So that is a little bit of a part of, almost a part of campus, but not quite. Is there a tutorial on how to use UCSB portal? How do students enroll in classes and find resources on the website? That's a great question. Do you want to answer that, Cece? Or should we direct them?
Yeah, so that portal is Gaucho Space. And so if you were to visit the Gaucho Space website, you should be able to access some tutorials on that. You could also check with your academic advisors in your colleges or departments as well for help.
Perfect. All right. Is it easy to open a bank account? Is it a walkthrough? Can we operationalize it in a week before checking in, or is there any pre-work to be done?
It's pretty painless. Just just make sure you have your I-20 and your passport, and that's what they're going to ask you for are those documents. But it's you just walk in. There's no drive-in. Yeah, and they'll have agents there to help you.
Yeah. And one of the things that Cece had said earlier, and again, I'd like to reiterate, is if you use one of the banks that is just here across the way in Isla Vista, they're familiar with working with international students. And so they'll be able to advise you appropriately, and they have a bit of a sense of understanding as they're working with you. So it's something that you can just walk into their office, into the banking center, and they'll help you get set up with that. All right, the next one. I have been in administrative probably processing, I'm assuming, for my visa. I'm a STEM major on June 15th, and I still haven't gotten my visa after that. I am afraid that due to that, I'll get my visa later than the program start date on the I-20. If this is the case, would I request another I-20 with a later start date immediately, or should I defer my date of registration or later quarter? How do I deal with this?
Yeah, I would say go ahead and reach out to your assigned advisor here at OISS to assist, and we can just look at this case by case.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah. Like, thank you, Eric. Eric Williams is our assistant director, who's also facilitating the chat function. Thank you, Eric, for doing that. All right, well, it looks like we have answered all of the questions that have been posed in there. If you do have any thoughts or follow-up questions after this webinar, we encourage you to reach out to your advisor again if it's immigration related. You're also welcome to reach out to the OISS website or through the OISS website to find our main email inbox, and we can certainly get back to you via that. And we just want to say thank you for joining us. We're very excited to be welcoming you to campus in the next several weeks, and to share this beautiful campus with you. Santa Barbara is a wonderful place to be and to live and to study, and we hope that you will thoroughly enjoy your time here. And we hope that you will log back in the next 2 weeks for our webinars, Meet the Director and Student Life in the coming weeks. All right. Thank you, everyone.